What will need to be fact-checked? What would likely be ignored by the CNN fact-checkers like Daniel Dale or even the moderators, Jake Tapper or Dana Bash? Let's bring in the Willisha. Tinfoil Pat, Young Establishment James, and Two-A-Days Dan. I want to go through some of these hoaxes. Last couple of days on the Will Cain Show the last week, we've talked about one of them, which is the Very Fine People hoax. Snopes, I don't know, has now 7 years later admitted that was a hoax. And by the way, Joe Biden said that was his inspiration for running for president. What Trump said at Charlottesville. Of course, he didn't say it. You just have to play the whole clip. So, it's not inconceivable that Joe Biden would again say it tonight because, again, his inspiration for running against Trump. But more likely will be something like the following. And this was pointed out by Mays on X. Inflation was at 1.9% when Biden took office, not the 9% Biden currently claims. This is a verifiable fact. In June of 2021, Biden said inflation would not be a problem and that he wasn't worried about it. So he will most likely say tonight that inflation was at 1.9%. I know this because his surrogates are saying that. Will he be fact-checked on that? By the way, he'll use COVID as every cover. Number of jobs. He starts the recession with COVID as though that's all economic growth for him. So here's some of the biggest ones. And I want to say, I'll ask you guys as well, and I'll tell you which ones I've fallen for. This is an inventory that's been created on X of hoaxes. All right. So we just talked about Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people. Jussie Smollett. Anybody here fall for Jussie Smollett even for a minute?
Big time.
Two-A-Days?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I felt really hard for that one, and I felt so stupid. But yeah.
Two-A-Days. You thought that let me just get this straight.
Well,
You thought I don't think he was a main character. I don't know because I never watched it. But you thought one of the characters from Empire, which airs on BET, went out for a Subway sandwich at 1 a.m. and was recognized by two white nationalist MAGA guys walking around urban Chicago wearing MAGA hats and said, "This is MAGA country," happened to have bottles of bleach on them, poured it on him, and, by the way, either quickly found, "Get a rope, boys," and fashioned a noose, or just were walking around and had a noose, threw it around Jussie Smollett's neck. He went home without ever taking the noose off, called the cops, and you bought all that.
Well, saying it like that, I guess.
That's everyday behavior.
But no, I think my fault was just not reading enough about it, which, I guess I'm just a sheep.
Well, that's what happens. People just read a little bit about stuff. Here's some more. Not all of them are directly tied to Trump, but they create the environment around Trump. Bubba Wallace had a noose placed in his garage at a NASCAR event. Of course, everybody knows where I was on that because I think I was one of the guys out front going, "Doesn't smell right." And I mean, look at FBI investigate. The biggest piece to me on this one was, do you know that those NASCAR garages are randomly assigned the night, right, not long before they park their cars?
Yeah.
It's who would have come in and hung a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage? Did anybody buy Bubba Wallace's thing?
No, sir.
No guilty parties. What's that?
You learned after the Jussie Smollett thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, by the way, actually. Did you think that the Covington kids stood in the way of a Native American and acted in I don't even remember what it is now,
He smirked.
lordly white supremacist manner?
No. Not
You
that
bought
one.
it, tinfoil?
For the first couple hours, I kind of fell for it, and then you started seeing more about it, and then it was like, oh no, this is wrong.
All right, here's some better ones that deal directly with Trump. Did anybody think that Trump... I think there's people that still believe this, so I'm actually curious, mostly with Two-A-Days, if you believe this, that Trump said drinking bleach would fight COVID?
Damn. Yeah. I did fall for that for sure.
That Trump said you should drink bleach?
Yeah. Well, because you see things and and if they're repeated enough on social media, you start to just fall for them. But I did my own research after that and realized.
You're not supposed to do your own research. That's the sign of a fool. Didn't you learn that during COVID?
You're right.
What about COVID lab leak conspiracy? Did you believe that it was more likely anyone that it came from? I'll admit to you this. In the beginning, like they were talking, I knew about the Chinese wet markets and they eat weird stuff. And that made a little bit of sense for a minute until you learned that there was a COVID research facility right across the street. Yeah. And by the way, I don't think I'm alone. I think a lot of people went with, like, where did this come from? Could it be the wet market for a minute? Right?
Yeah, I felt pretty duped by all the COVID stuff, like pretty hard. I fell for that. And I was like, you know what? You can't say that. You can't say it's from China. I fell into that whole trap, and, now you learn.
What about border agents whipping Haitian migrants at the border?
It was a cheap fake.
No way.
Not even a second, right?
Not
Nobody
even
bought
We were
that.
on that. Like we talked about on the show, so we knew we sniffed it out right away. So
Absolutely. Didn't make even a bit of sense. This one, I was in sports media. I was at ESPN. So I will tell you, like Steele dossier, Russia collusion, this stuff hit the level of like keeping up with the war in Afghanistan for a decade with every detail every day. I mean, I had no idea what to make of any of that because you were inundated with names and the latest Rachel Maddow breathless expose. So I didn't believe it. And I didn't know whether not to believe it. I didn't know anything. I was just kept in a state of confusion, which I actually think most people were and might have been the point until we started learning about the Steele dossier. Where were you guys on all of that?
What about you, James? You fall for that one?
We knew that was nonsense from the transition on.
to be honest, I never thought about it
knew
until we started doing it on
right.
the show.
Yeah, I was the same way.
Yeah.
But James, he always knew. Tinfoil James.
Very smart. Very smart.
James is plugged in, as they say.
Yeah. How about Trump used tear gas to clear a crowd before the Bible photo?
I believe
You still think that might have happened 2 days?
I believe that one. Yeah, I was kind of like that. That
Today,
sounds like
to this day.
I believed it. I just had no problem with
up
it.
until I saw it on this list, maybe.
So
I still think
what
it
about
happened.
ivermectin?
No.
What about ivermectin?
No.
Horse dewormer? Did you buy that?
Well,
Here's a good one. Officer Sicknick was murdered by protesters. I bet 2 Day still believes this one too.
no.
No?
No.
Okay. BYU students hurled racist insults at a Duke volleyball player. We did that one here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't here with that.
But see, the thing is, by the time that one came around, we'd already been through Jussie Smollett and Bubba Watts. I think we'd learned never trust this stuff early on. Go ahead.
No, I feel like there's little trigger things you could start to suss out when you like hear these stories, right? They all kind of have similar,
Like Trump grabbing the wheel.
Yeah,
of
they have little undertones of things.
like
This is going to be a fake one.
Trump grabbing the wheel of the beast.
Yeah.
Or Trump overfeeding koi fish in
Yeah.
Japan.
Sure, be cool if he did.
They get similar.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
I'll tell you, establishment was all in on the Beast. He bought that one.
I did. But I thought it was cool. I was like, wow, he started driving. He took control. That's the kind of leader I want.
You took it the wrong way.
You bought that because you liked it.
Like he
Trump
overpowered
leaning
a bunch
over
of
from the
big
back
men.
seat and grabbing the wheel.
The wrong way.
It's so ridiculous. There was another one I wanted to do here. It's really good. There was the Trump ignored Russian bounties on American soldiers in Syria. Remember that? Everyone bought that one for a minute. That one was run all over the news. The thing about all of these is it's a little bit like what you said. A Ghost of Kiev was out there killing Russians everywhere, like killed 100 Russian pilots. One guy, he was like Iron Eagle back in the 80s. No one knows that movie, Iron Eagle, but me. Lou Gossett Jr. The thing about all of these is it's exactly what you said 2 days. It washes over you and then is repeated ad nauseum, and it becomes fact because they get simplified. That's for one thing. Really good. Like this list, which is really good of all of these, it's like you can reduce them into like one line. You know what I mean? and then people just believe it and repeat something simple over and over and over enough. Like, I'll tell you this, like when we did the fact check just the other day about the Very Fine People hoax, there is a significant percentage of people that do not care.
Yep.
They'll believe it anyway. And they will say things like, saw it with our own eyes. You know what I mean? And I saw one comment on X that said, you're a liar, and had I'm a liar, and it had the transcript of what Trump had to say, right? And it highlighted where he said, but of course, you know what? It's this long. It cuts off where he says, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis. But they don't care. They don't want to believe the truth. They love the lie. And the truth is too complicated. It requires more time or more context or more explanation when the lie is so perfectly simple and short and repeated over and over. And many of these, I guarantee you, many of these will come up tonight. And I have no hope that CNN will fact check Joe Biden on any of these. But I have every faith they will be fact checking Donald Trump at every possible opportunity in the CNN presidential debate simulcast on Fox.